Today's video sponsor is Policy Genius. Hello and welcome to Berlin, and welcome to the new Brandenburg Airport here in the German capital. Do you remember the last time that I flew Scoot? Crowded, disorganised. Unfortunately, things were only going to get worse, but they just didn't bother here. You shouldn't advertise stuff you don't deliver. The food was some of the worst I've had. Well, in that video I made a promise to fly Scoot again at some point, and here I am a few years later making good on my promise. Today I'm flying wholly within Europe with Scoot. I'm flying from here in Berlin down to Athens. It's going to be about 3 hours in ScootPlus or ScootBiz. Is it a business class? Is it not a business class? We're going to find out exactly what their product is like on this 3-hour hop. Let's go and fly Scoot again, and fingers crossed for a better experience this time. Thanks for joining me. Let's check it out. So this is Germany's newest airport. Welcome to Berlin Brandenburg, which is also named for the former West German Chancellor Willy Brandt, who did so much to build bridges with Eastern Europe in the 1970s and 80s. First, a little bit of housekeeping about the new airport. You'll notice from this sign it has 3 terminals, confusingly named 1, 2 and 5. Well, terminals 1 and 2 are new, and they're what you would consider the new airport here at Berlin Brandenburg Airport, this lovely new square building in the middle of the complex. You may remember the old airport Schönefeld, which is actually on the same site, and Terminal 5 is just the old Schönefeld towards the north of the complex. At the time of recording, this terminal isn't in use due to the COVID-19 pandemic and the reduced travel volumes. As a result, all of the flights handled by Brandenburg Airport are now being checked in from Terminals 1 and 2, and as you can see, there are some rather unusual airlines on show. There's a dedicated priority check-in zone for ScootBiz customers, and I was in and out in just a couple of minutes flat, having filled in my health declaration. Unfortunately, that was where my good ground experience was about to finish. Let's see why. So we're just through security, and let me tell you what that was like. It's taken me over half an hour to get through security today. Now, normally a wait in the security line is just part and parcel of flying, but there were about 8 different lines into the security control that I was using, and the one that I happened to have been shepherded into is also the line that they were putting every single latecomer. So there were about 20 or 25 people that were just allowed by the security guards to slip towards the front of the queue. It was like their priority rush lane for people that were about to miss their flights. I've got no problem really with people who are late trying to make their plane, because the airport's all about trying to get you somewhere, but I just wish they didn't do it in my lane. It's taken me half an hour. And it's not just me that's been unlucky. This Business Traveller article explains that Lufthansa is advising passengers to arrive 4 hours before their flight. Clearly there are some pretty big problems with getting people through Berlin airport security. Also, another thing I need to talk to you about is Scoot's policy about food and drink on board. So, as you know, if you see my previous videos, Scoot has a policy where no outside food or drink is allowed on board, which is something you just don't see in Europe. Generally, low-cost airlines are all about choice. If you want to buy food on board, that's your choice. If you want to bring your own, that's your choice too. Now, the problem we have is I have this piece of paper. Whoa, let's cut out the rant. Anyways, I was handed this piece of paper at check-in which details all of the measures that Scoot is using to combat coronavirus, and as part of that they said they weren't selling onboard food. Clear as day, no onboard sales, which is why I went on a rant here, but for some reason they were serving food on board, so colour me confused. This is just one of a number of things I think Scoot could do an awful lot better in terms of informing customers what their options are before the flight. Oh, I think I've just seen our plane arriving. It is literally arriving right now. So look, here it is. Just come in from Athens. And here she is. This is our Boeing 787-8 Dreamliner, which will take us the 3 hours or so down to Athens from Berlin today. This is another 5th Freedom flight, and those of you that watch my Singapore Airlines business class video will know what that is. But essentially, this aircraft flies Singapore to Athens and then on to Berlin, and then operates Berlin to Athens to Singapore, but importantly has the rights to carry passengers just between Athens and Berlin and vice versa. It's a rare opportunity to fly this unusual airline within Europe. Scoot is a subsidiary of Singapore Airlines, one of the best airlines in the world, and to see them have a go at a low-cost carrier has always been kind of confusing and also kind of fun. I mean, I do get the impression they're kind of shoehorning the cuteness into their operations with names like Scooty Mite for their aircraft and calling their cabin crew Scooties, but there we go. Today's video sponsor is Policy Genius, making it easy to compare quotes from over a dozen top insurers all in one place. If you fly as much as I do, then the chances are you've probably thought at least once about risk and life insurance. Most people will need about 10 times the value of their employer's life insurance to provide properly for their families. That's where Policy Genius comes in. You could save 50% or more on your life insurance by comparing quotes with Policy Genius. The experts at Policy Genius work for you and not the insurance companies, so you can trust them to help you navigate every step of the shopping and buying process. It's no coincidence that Policy Genius's service has earned them thousands of 5-star reviews across Trustpilot and Google. Eligible applicants can get cover in as little as 1 week thanks to an award-winning policy that swaps the standard medical exam requirement for a simple phone call. This exclusive policy was recently rated #1 by Forbes Advisor. Visit policygenius.com/Wingin to get started right now. When it comes to insurance, it's nice to get it right. Perfect, thank you very much. So here we go, another Scoot experience. Let's hope the experience gets a little bit better once I get on board. I do like these glass double level jet bridges here in Berlin. Okay, let's go, let's go. Hello. Thank you. Thank you. Hello. Well, there you go, shown directly to your seat, just like I was in Singapore Airlines business class. And this is Scoot Biz. It's 16 seats right up at the front of the aircraft. These are essentially premium economy seats, but the airline isn't charging or advertising a full business class experience, so that's fine. Just behind is economy. It's economy all the way down the back of the aircraft, but these seats at the front row seem to have some terrific legroom. So that's me settled in. Actually had such a lovely welcome from the 2 members of cabin crew that are looking after the front part of the cabin today. Now, they don't exactly have their work cut out because, as you can see, I am the only passenger, which is good news for me. But anyway, the cabin crew were lovely. They came around. My purser is called Keith today. He's also confirmed my meal order. So about that pre-order food, when you fly Scoot Biz, you can pre-order your hot meal to be served at your seat using the website and your booking confirmation, which is absolutely fine. But I'd chosen Oriental Treasure Rice, and just a couple of days before my flight, they said it wasn't available, and they'd substituted it with Mum's Fried Rice, whatever that is. Anyways, we're off to Athens now. Let's go and enjoy this flight. It will improve from here, I promise. And so we're airborne, climbing out of Brandenburg Airport and turning towards the southeast to head towards Greece and Athens. It'll take us 2 hours and 30 minutes to travel the 1,116 miles today. These seats are pretty much identical to the ones you used to find on Norwegian's 787 Dreamliners. Remember them? The legroom's pretty good, there's some decent storage at the back of the seat in front, and the tray table folds out and is pretty sturdy. There's not really much to complain about, especially on a flight of this length. Even though the seat's fittings may seem to be rather old, it actually works perfectly well. There's an adjustable headrest which is perfectly comfortable, and there is a recline function which is pretty generous too. And yes, if you're in the last row, you will still be able to recline because there are several inches of space between the bulkhead and the back of the seat, so that's something you don't need to worry about. And yes, there is in-seat charge provided by these power points, but bear in mind if you're in economy, you'll need to pay to have this turned on. Every passenger on Scoot gets one of these little hygiene kits, which contains a spare mask, hand sanitizing gel, and some disinfectant. Once I'd settled in, I was handed a voucher which gives 30 megabytes of internet access on the onboard Wi-Fi. There's actually a pretty handy QR code in the armrest which you can scan to access the internet more quickly, but surprise surprise, it didn't work for me. But no matter, with a little bit of fiddling with my phone settings, I was able to get onto the internet, and as you can see here, they were certainly selling food on board, contrary to what they'd said at check-in. I still don't know why I was handed that piece of paper at check-in. Perhaps that information is simply out of date, and it was the case once, but is no longer. Thankfully, the Wi-Fi was pretty good and lasted me the entire duration of the flight. I was just using it for sending tweets. And a reminder, of course, if you want to follow all of my trips in real time, you need to follow me on Instagram and Twitter at the handle @Paul_winging it. Plus, if watching these sort of trip reports is your thing, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It is totally free and will let you know whenever I post a new video. Right, this looks a lot more promising than the last time I flew Scoot. This is called Mum's Fried Rice. Not gonna lie, actually, it smells delicious. Also got me some beer, and that's put me in a good mood. And there are these double chocolate lava cookies as well. Right guys, it's the moment of truth. I've got to say, for something I didn't actually order in the first place, it's not bad. I think it's fair to say that Scoot isn't going for the Instagram crowd with the presentation of its food, but it was actually very, very nice, and I rather enjoyed the opportunity to have something different that I just wouldn't have ordered. Oh, and a bonus, I was able to use the toilet unharassed on this trip. You remember what happened to me the last time. Perhaps there's an element of luck in being the only person in the whole front half of the aircraft, but I have to say I found the onboard service to be very personable and exactly what I would expect from a subsidiary of Singapore Airlines. It was a world of difference compared to the last time that I flew them, and that's certainly a good thing. Right, well that's me done. We've got about another half an hour of the cruise. I think I'm going to get myself some sleep and hopefully wake up on the descent to Athens. Ciao for now. When I wake up, I realised the cabin crew had gone to the trouble of dimming all of the windows here in Scoot Biz. I assume because they thought I was trying to sleep. That's another great customer service touch from them. We were soon descending into Athens, and as is usual, we made our approach over the sea. If you fly into Athens, try and sit on the left-hand side of the aircraft and you'll get a glimpse of the old airport, Ellinikon. This airport closed nearly 20 years ago with the opening of the new Athens airport, but if you look really closely, you'll see that there are actually still some aircraft parked there. A little bit of Olympic Airways heritage. So the Scoot experience really is a game of two halves. Everything was really on a downer until I boarded the aircraft, and not just because of what happened at the airport. For example, their website is frustrating to use and displayed a seat map that showed me that the only seat on board was the toilet. The website and the app couldn't agree whether the flight was 3 or 4 hours long, for example. There are just lots of niggling things about Scoot and their policies that I just really don't understand. But forewarned is forearmed, as they say, and as long as you can navigate the pre-flight hassle, you'll probably be okay. I paid €179 one way for this, and overall I think the value justified itself in the end. This is definitely a superior product, certainly seating-wise, with every other European carrier you can name, and it's an opportunity to do something quite novel, flying a Singaporean airline entirely within Europe. Scoot definitely needs to improve on its pre-flight service, but I'm happy to say that overall I rather enjoyed this second round with them. Thanks again to Policy Genius for sponsoring the video. Head to policygenius.com/wingin to get started right away. Thanks again for watching. Please like, comment and subscribe, and I will see you again in the next video. Bye for now.